أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Thank you for this invitation here, and thank you for being with us this evening talking about the Prophet's life, peace be upon him. And as I'm always saying, the best introduction to Islam is the life of the messenger of Islam, peace be upon him, because you get a sense of history, the principles, and the implementation. So before starting, I really want to thank the organizers of this morning meeting with the Academy and this vision, this first encounter promoting peace, and the people who are working here in this center, Dr. Ali and so many others, the Muslim League and the brothers and sisters, and some of you who came from Wrocław and slept in the mosque over the night to be able to be with us here. So it's impressive, and I think that these are really signs that something is happening. And my friend Bruno, who is coming from Paris, we know each other and he was in fact the link, one of the links with the organizers here, and I want to thank him on your behalf as well. Many Muslims were asking me, or have been asking me for years, to work on two different fields. One was the Quran and the commentaries, the tafsir al-Quran, and say you have to do something about it, because I have been teaching commentaries on the Quran and on some specific passages of the Quran for years, and they were asking me to do this, and others were asking me, and you have to write a seerah, a biography of the Prophet, peace be upon him, which at the same time is close to the tradition and faithful to the tradition and the roots, but also in the light of our contemporary life. And I did the first orally, and I decided to write the second because it was something that I wanted to do for a long time. And then you have the book here, and I want to thank the brothers and the sisters to have put some money to make it possible to have the book in Polish, and efforts to reread the text from English to Polish for you to have it at the highest level. So use it as an introduction to Islam. So this introduction to Islam, if you come to the very essence of it, and I was starting to write about the Prophet's life, we know that there are specific periods of time before the revelation, between the revelation and al-Hijrah, which is the exile from Mecca to Medina, and then after they settled down in Medina. So we know these periods of time, and many of you, we know dates. What happened, the starting point, 570, and then 610, and then 632. All this is good. But we are not asked to know dates. We are asked to love. There is no way for us to be close to God if we don't learn how to love the messenger. And you love the messenger not through dates, but through life. Not through life only, through details. You know that sometimes you remember something coming from your father, something coming from your mother, a way they looked at you, a way they listened to you, the way they were patient with you, the way they were angry with you. Details, when they are in your heart, are showing how much you love people. Let me start with something which is quite important. We know that for 40 years, the Prophet, alayhi salatu wassalam, peace be upon him, was living in a situation where he had no revelation, but he was respected by people. And we know that his character, his ethics, his behavior was from the highest level. That إِنَّكَ عَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. So it means that from the beginning, it's not only coming from the revelation. He was chosen before the revelation to be the one who is going to get the revelation. He was al-Mukhtar, the chosen one. Al-Mustafa, the purified one. So this is something which is important, that before he got the revelation, we have to study what happened. What were the elements helping us understand why he was going to be the one we have to follow. And then we try to understand the very specific situation he had. He was from a very noble tribe. Banu Hashim was a noble tribe. And the people were respected coming from this tribe. And at the same time, he was orphaned by his father, fatherless. And he became very quickly orphaned, both from his father and his mother. And an orphan in the Arab context was someone who was perceived without a father as a poor. So something very specific, noble as his character, poor as his social status. And the Quran is telling us about this very quickly in one surah. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والضحى والليل إذا سجى. You know the verse. ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى. We find you poor and we gave you protection, refuge. We find you lost and we guided you. God is talking to him, telling him, you were lost among the people. Before getting the revelation, you were lost, you were poor. Yes, a noble status, but a poor guy. And even we know the story that all the people didn't want to take this baby because he was too poor. No father means no money, no security. And he was protected by God. And he's telling him this from the very beginning. What is said in this verse is something which is very important for all of us. He said, we find you poor, we find you an orphan, we gave you refuge, protection, and everything. And then at the end of the surah, there is something which is added. فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَلَا تَقْهَرْ. Because you were in this situation, now never forget the orphan and the poor. In fact, your own experience as the messenger, you were poor, to the poor you have to come back. You were orphan, the orphan you shouldn't forget. For us, if you get this very meaning of what it means, when we have in the Quran something which is لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ, you have the best example in the Prophet's life. It's something which is important. In fact, you are going to be the messenger for people because you experience what they experienced. You know what they know from within. And it means for us, when we live in the West, that living here, don't wait for answers coming from there. You are here, and here you have to work. You experience the same reality. What does it mean? It means that the revelation coming and giving meaning to a life does not take the place, it does not come without the life. You have to use your life in order to understand the very meaning of revelation. Your past is a school, and the revelation is using your past as your school. You were poor, the revelation is giving meaning to this poverty for you to help. And when you are living in the West, when you are living in Muslim majority countries, never forget your past, because your past is a school. Use your past and add the revelation. Don't try with the revelation to remove your past, but use the revelation to give meaning to your life. You are coming from somewhere, you should not be have this sense of guilt because you are coming from somewhere. If you are coming from somewhere and you have to take this route to come here, this was God's plan for you. Say thank you and study the past in order to build the future. So it means that you have to value your knowledge of your society. Who is going to change or to give something to this country? Who is going to contribute to the Polish culture? Who is going to contribute for the people who are coming from Malaysia, for the Malaysian culture? Are we going to do that? No. Ulama al-Waqa, the people who are knowledgeable about the context, are the people who are coming from that context. So the Polish people should be involved in the Polish culture. You have to be creative, you have to be involved. And everyone should understand what is said in the Quran to the Prophet, peace be upon him. You are coming from there, there you have to work, because this is your country, this is your society. You are poor, the poor you are going to understand. And the Prophet ﷺ never forgot, never, that he was coming from a poor social status. He understood this. And he put in this poverty dignity. And you get it in the Quran, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We give dignity to human beings. So you may be poor, but poverty is not with money. Poverty is with your heart. A poor heart, with whatever money you have, you are poor. No richness in money. And this is why we have this invocation, this prayer. Allahumma nas'aluka at-tuqa wal-afafa wal-ghina. Al-ghina here, it's not richness with money. It's richness with soul, spirituality, and heart. So the true richness is coming from there. So you were poor, but you are rich. Know where richness is. This is the very meaning of spirituality. This is one thing which is important, that we have to start with this and look at our own life and try to understand that nothing is by accident, that we have to think about the meaning of things. So being with God means nothing is happening by accident. We might not know the meaning, but it's our limit, not the reality of nonsense. Nonsense is just our ignorance. Nothing happens in our life not having a meaning. Look at this other story before he was the messenger, peace be upon him. Once, he was a human being. And he was a young human being hearing that there was a wedding somewhere. Wedding at that time not only meant music and entertainment, it meant alcohol and forgetfulness. This was the Arab culture at that time. Before the Quran came to say no alcohol, people were drinking. And once he wanted to go. 12 years old, want to go there, it's natural. To be attracted by entertainment is natural. He wanted to go. And while he wanted to go there, he just felt tired and he slept till the following morning. And the following morning it was over, so he was not able to go. And he said the story afterward, because if he didn't say the story, we wouldn't be able to know what happened. In fact, a Rabb, as I said this afternoon or this morning, a Rabb, we translate this as the Lord, in fact, is the educator, the supreme educator. His educator, God, literally put him to sleep to protect him from a natural attraction. When now you think about the spiritual dimension of this, 3 things should be said. You can just know the story and then go ahead, but we need to understand the 3 dimensions. The first teaching, the first lesson that we can draw from that is that it's natural to be attracted by life. زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ. God is saying this is natural. You are attracted. And you should not deny this. You are not in a state of denial. Face your nature. But face your nature doesn't mean say yes to everything which is coming from nature, because you are violent by nature, or you can be greedy by nature. Not everything which is natural is good. nature is nature, spirituality is to master nature. You have to look at the reality of your nature. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, was attracted, and this was natural. What was the second teaching, which is very important? When you see your kid, when you are teenagers here, or you are at the university, or you are young and not so young, every one of us here in this room, don't foolish yourself. Don't try to lie. If there is a movie, or if there is on internet, or if there is things outside that are showing you things that you know with your mind that is haram, you don't need a mufti to say haram. You know it's haram, you know it's forbidden, you are still attracted. The question is, how do you solve it? Do you go for it, looking if no one is watching you? Do you master yourself? The point is this, that the Prophet himself, peace be upon him, he was 12, was attracted. And what Allah, God did with him is to put him to sleep. And this is the point. To acknowledge this attraction, but to try to find a way of diversion. How do you get away? How do you find a way to solve this attraction? This is what Islam should be. Not to deny, but to master. So the point here is, when you see the Prophet, peace be upon him, who was a human being, who was attracted when he was young, and God protected him through a diversion. We need to think about this in the way we educate ourselves and we educate our kids. Don't expose yourself. Try to find places where you are protected. For myself, I was born and raised in Switzerland. Two things protected me. The first thing was reading, is to read books, to be protected by reading. And the second was sports, something which is good for your body, good for your mind, and protecting you. Find ways of protecting you. Don't expose yourself and then you say, I'm weak. Yes, expose you are weak. But you have to ask yourself, who put you in this situation? It might be that you are the first responsible to expose yourself and then to try to justify what you did by, I'm weak. Yes, we are all weak, but there are ways of protecting ourselves, and this is coming from the prophetic example. And the last teaching here and lesson that we can draw is, when it is said in the Quran, "Zkuruni azkurkum," remember me, I will remember you. So God is saying, I'm close to you if you are close to me. But when you look at what is happening in your life, there are always signs that can help you to understand the meaning of things. And this happened to the Prophet. He understood afterward the meaning of it. God protected me from that. And sometimes we are quite unaware or forgetful. We don't see the signs around us because we are not close to the meaning of things. So it's quite important here to say, you can see in things what is in your heart. You forget him, you will see only facts. You are close to him, you will see signs. And the difference between facts and signs is a fact is a fact. A sign is a fact plus a specific meaning. Meaning, think about it. There is a meaning in what is happening, in everything which is happening. And this is why the Prophet, peace be upon him, told us about this story. It meant something. I was protected from the very beginning. And God helped me to be protected. The Prophet, peace be upon him, was 12 or so when he attended a meeting before the revelation. In that meeting, people were gathering because something happened in Mecca which was worrying. A Yemeni coming from outside the city came and he was trading. And there was something which was a kind of organization, tribal organization, where you were protected by a tribe. It was, you were able to deal with people, but you were protected. He was not protected, and he felt that he was unjustly treated. Then he went out and he said that. So one of the leaders at that time decided to have a meeting and to set the protection not on the tribe belonging, the tribal belonging, but on the principle of justice. And years later, when the Prophet, he attended this meeting where they decided whoever is unjustly treated is going to get the support of all the people, whatever the tribe, whatever the origin. Justice is the principle, not your tribal affiliation or tribal belonging. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, after the revelation said, I attended this meeting known as Helf al-Fudul, which is the contract of the dignified people, saying, if now with Islam I had to come back to this contract, to this meeting, I will come back to it and I will be happy to do so. And this is a very deep understanding for us. And this is the teaching. In fact, justice is not only when it comes from Muslims. It's not because it's Islamic that it's a just peace. Justice is justice. And if a Muslim sees justice everywhere, he is with it, or she is with it. It's not, you are a Muslim, I am just with you and unjust with others. He said the principle of justice that was accepted before revelation is mine, because my revelation is telling me that justice is justice for me and for all. Meaning for us today that sometimes you need to get it right. Some of your brothers and sisters in Islam are unjust, you have to stand up. Some of the people, your brothers and sisters in humanity who are not Muslims but just, you are on their side. Because you don't choose justice depending on religion. You choose justice depending on principle. So you need to look to principles, not only to fellow Muslims. These are teachings that are quite important here in our relationship, and especially if we understand this. All the steps that you have in the Prophet's life can be studied in depth to get the very essence of what it means. And here we understand that a long time ago, the Prophet ﷺ was telling us, don't be with this narrow-minded attitude, which is you look only for your brothers and sisters in Islam and you are not critical with your own brothers and sisters. You know, we were in the mosque right now praying, and we have to put our shoulder against the shoulder of our brother or our sister, saying what? Be careful, the devil could be between you. Meaning what? Meaning that even in the mosque, be careful, the devil could be among the Muslims. But it's also important to understand that you look at people from other faiths, Christians, Jews, Buddhists, Hindus, people who have no religion. And sometimes you see in them attitudes that are full of dignity. They are standing up for justice, and sometimes more honestly. You know, I was in a trial in France. The one who was against me and lying was a so-called mufti. One of these muftis that are telling you, you know, for social relationship during Ramadan, you can drink a coffee just to show that you are open-minded. That's a mufti. And on the other side, someone who was an atheist, and he was saying the truth. I had to see the sign of dignity on someone who was without God telling me, I stand for the truth, and I was having someone who, in the name of Islam, was lying. And we need to use our mind. My brothers and sisters in Islam are human beings, and sometimes they are wrong. And my brothers and sisters in humanity, they don't believe as I believe, and sometimes they are right. You have your heart, but you need to use your mind. And this is the very essence of this story. So, and once the revelation came, and I'm not talking about all the stories. There are lots of stories that, and with every story you can get a teaching, a lesson. But when the revelation came, the Prophet, peace be upon him, had to transform his way of looking at the world. In fact, it was a true conversion. Conversion means changing your perceptions of things. And straight away what happened is that he came to what was for him the truth. God was speaking and telling him, this is the way. This is now a new life. Before that, for 5 years, he was to go to the cave and to try to isolate himself, to try to find the truth. He was looking for an answer. He had one question, why? He didn't want to go to politism. He didn't want to go to anything which was not the true meaning of life. At that time, politism was idols. But in our time, it's everything which is connected to your attraction. It could be money, it could be fame, it could be appearances. As Abu Hamid al-Ghazali was saying once, you know, someone who wrote a very important book. You have it in English. I don't know if you have it in Polish. Ihya Ulum ad-Din is the revivification of Islamic religion and sciences. Is your heart is always full of something. It can be full of the oneness of God or full of other attractions. And it could be money, it could be desires. And desires and money are attractive, and they are attracting you, and they are you are tied up with this. It's a sense of dependency. The religion came to make him independent, detached from the world and from his ego. And this is the central teaching of all the religions, all the spiritualities. The first jail is your ego, is yourself, is potential arrogance, and it's to look at yourself forgetting humility and getting arrogant. This was the first step of the revelation. And still something which is very important. What was the substance of this revelation? One God, one book, one way. And the way was full of respect the people, serve the poor, respect nature, avoid power. These people are not, this is not where your attention should be directed. And still what happened? He got what? Jesus before him, peace be upon him, got. Moses before him, peace be upon him, got. All the prophets and messengers before him got. What? You call for love. You call for serving the poor. You call for what is right, and you will get enemies. It's not because you call for love that you are going to be loved. And this is a teaching of life. That when some of my brothers and sisters, Christians even, and say, okay, it's very difficult today to speak about God, and Muslims, we are not like in this country, I say, what do you expect? What do you expect? When the Prophet, peace be upon him, was coming with light, he was rejected by people of his family, and now you want all the people to smile at you? Forget it. It's not easy to try to come with something which is serving truth and serving the poor. Why? Because you are not only touching what is right, you are touching people who have money, who have power and privileges, and they don't want to get rid of that. You are threatening the very meaning of life if you come to say, I'm not here to serve power, I'm here to serve truth. I don't serve the powerful, I serve the poor. I'm not here to please you, I'm here to please him, and sometimes I'm not going to please you. You get that? To be able to say to someone who has power, I'm not here to please you, I'm sorry. I please him, and what I got from him is that sometimes I don't have to please you, because you might be a dictator, because you might be arrogant, exactly like. But all this done how? In a very soft way. Remember the story of Moses? He was sent to Pharaoh. Pharaoh, he said, I am God on earth. Ana rabbukumul a'la. I am the highest God you can get. And Moses was sent and say with his brother, وَقُلَا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. Speak in a soft way. He is arrogant, you are soft. He thinks high of himself, be the servant of truth. And what was said from the very beginning, and I will end here, is in the verse that was revealed very early, the fourth revelation, in Surah Al-Muzammil. وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا يَقُولُونَ وَاهْجُرْهُمْ هَجْرًا جَمِيلًا. Be patient, perseverant, endurant with what they are going to say about you. They are going to say that you are bad, that you are a magician, that you want money, that you... Whatever they say, be patient and perseverant. But not only this. وَاهْجُرْهُمْ هَجْرًا جَمِيلًا is not exile or take a distance from them in a beautiful way. Hajran Jamila. It's qualified here. It's not an exile which is, I'm going to be far from you and even insulting you. No, in a dignified way. So this is what the kind of Muslims we want today. Some people here in Poland or in Europe, and sometimes they do this with me. You know, I still have people telling me after I was born and raised and 44 years in Switzerland, telling me, when are you going to be a Swiss? And so I'm sorry, I'm already a Swiss. The problem is not in my Swissness, it's in your mind. Your mind has a problem. But the way I just answer now is not the way we have to answer. You need to do it with dignity. We need to do it with softness. We need to be soft whatever is the way we are attacked. This is the Prophet's life. This is the way he was. And this is coming from the Quran. وَهْجُرْهُمْ هَجْرًا جَمِيلًا. Beautiful exile. Show them your dignity when they are attacking you. And this is the way the people want to understand. Why are you acting like this? You should be for the people the way the Prophet, peace be upon him, was for the people. He was a question. Very strange the way he was behaving. And the people are saying, why is he like this? Because he has a secret. And the secret was his faith. And his faith was the meaning of his life. So we have to think about this when we are keeping our faith alive, whatever is the situation. So the last story, and I will end and give you the floor, is, I'm sorry, it's just a jump in history. When the messenger, peace be upon him, after years of persecution and battles and all this, he was to come back after a dream. He wanted to come back to Mecca. And then on his way to Mecca, he was stopped and they decided with the people from Mecca. After he went to exile in Medina, he spent years there, coming back 8 years later to try to perform the pilgrimage. And he was stopped. And he decided, they went for an agreement between Ahl Quraysh, the people of Mecca, and the people of Medina who were coming, and this Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, which is known, it's a pact between the two. And it was very strange the way the Prophet, peace be upon him, acted and behaved. Because the people from Mecca, they were not in a position of power, but still they came with 4 conditions. The first condition, you are not going to go for the pilgrimage this year, next year. The second is, if someone is coming from Mecca to Medina, so is leaving us to go to you, you have to send him back or send her back. But if someone is leaving you to come to us, we can keep him. Say, okay, I agree with this. And then the truth was, it was a truth for 10 years. And the most important thing is that the way they were writing the contract, they didn't agree. They started by saying, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This was the way the Muslims were starting everything in the name of God, the compassionate, the most compassionate. And they said, I'm sorry, we are sorry. And the one who was, Sufyan, who was facing the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, no, we know Bismillah. We don't know Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. It's not coming from us. It's coming from your tradition. So you remove this. And Ali, karramallahu wajha, who was writing everything, he wanted to keep it. He said, I can't remove this. He said, remove it. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, asked him to remove it, accepting the fact that they didn't want it. And then the messenger of God, Muhammad, Rasulullah. So it's the messenger of God. They say, the messenger of God, you are Muhammad ibn Abdullah. You are coming from a family. If we thought that you were the Prophet, we would not act against you. So you remove this. Ali said, I can't do that. I said, show me where it is. And he did it himself when he was shown where. Look at this. He accepted all the conditions. And even later, one of the closest companions, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, was just upset. How we have the truth, they are wrong, and you accept all this. And look at something which is important. The Prophet, I talked about the dimension of his heart. You come with love, you are not going to be loved. The people are going to attack. Remain soft, remain open, react in the best way. And here, it's not a question of heart, here is a question of mind. And here we have what we can call intellectual empathy. The Prophet, peace be upon him, was putting himself in the shoes of the people. They were right. How can I have a contract on an equal footing by putting Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim when you are not acknowledging the same truth that I? So you don't want it? Okay, that's fine. I'm not missing too much, but I accept your position. So he was logic in the way he was listening to them. Second thing, they were right. If we were to think that you were the messenger, we wouldn't fight you. So we are fighting you because we don't want it. We don't believe in it. So how could you have an agreement with us? Say, right, I accept this. So he had a double intellectual empathy. With what they were saying, he said that, yeah, they're right. There is some logic. Listen to this. You might think that you are right with your faith, but you cannot deny the logic of the people who are talking to you. They can say and these things you don't believe, and you have to acknowledge this. He acknowledged that and said, you are right. I accept that. But at the same time, he understood that Ali karramallahu wajha was too emotional to accept it. So he said, I'm going to do it myself. Look at this. This is the way you educate people. You look at their intelligence and the intellect, you respond to this. But at the same time, when you deal with your own people, you have to deal with their emotions. You cannot deny this. So you cannot do it, I'm going to do it myself. This is the way he was educating him. Don't do it, I do it myself. Show me. It's here, I'm doing it myself. Look at that. At the same time, playing on two different fields. With them, I understand. With you, I understand. But I don't understand the same. You are reacting with your emotion. You are talking to me with your mind. And I accept both. Get that? And the third dimension is, when you think about if someone is leaving Mecca, you have to send him back. And if someone is leaving Medina, we can keep him. The Prophet ﷺ now is not talking to them, he's talking to himself. If someone who is a Muslim is leaving Medina to go to Mecca, it means that he's not one of us. He's leaving, so I don't need him. But if someone dares to leave Mecca to come to me, whatever is the situation, he's one of us. So I'm not losing anything. They might think about the process, I think about the ends. Look at this. Using intelligence with himself, intellectual empathy with them, emotional empathy with the other. And what I want to say here is, don't take the Prophet's life as only something which is spiritual with heart. It's deeply intellectual with understanding. And this is why we have to study. Don't come to the Prophet's life only with dates and facts. Understand the meaning, the way he was using his mind, why he was the chosen one among human beings. And thank you so much for Dr. Ali and all the brothers and sisters who organized this event. And thank you for coming this evening. And peace be with you.